Hello, everybody. You are tuned into the sexy. Oh, man. So, let me ask you guys a question. Have we been duped? Have we been deceived? Have we been so deeply affected by our culture that we no longer are able to accurately ascertain what is supposed to be reality as defined by God in regards to a woman? We are going to talk about the man one day. It's only fair. But, as I always say, ladies first. Where are the ladies, by the way? Can I tell you honestly that Pacific's view of things has been so transmogrified, so transformed, not by Jesus Christ, but by the world in which we live. I grew up on television. I remember my sister and I racing home from school in Mammoth Lakes to fight over the chair that was closest to the TV so we could watch Scooby-Doo. I loved my sister growing up. She was the greatest diversion from an otherwise boring life. She'd sit in that overstuffed chair, you know, the kind that had the built-in arms and it had this flap on the top that flipped up. I have no idea what that was all about. Leather, you know. And I'd grab the back of that chair. She wouldn't see me coming, and I'd take it and I'd pull it down backwards real fast. She'd never get hurt because the chair was so comfortable. It would freak her out. She'd be watching the TV. I'd grab the back of that brown Naugahyde chair and go, boom, like that. She's like, ah! And she would scream, oh my gosh, do that again. I was the typical bratty brother, man. I left no stone unturned. She's quietly watching TV, and I come in like a hurricane. Oh, watch this. Speaking of that reminds me of an episode of some train in Europe where some guy is yelling and screaming at some woman, cussing, acting like a complete horse's bottom. And this man gets tired of it on this public train transportation like a subway. He just walks up, grabs his pants behind, and goes, the guy's standing there, pulls up his pants, looks around, walks away. It's like, that kind of stole your thunder, didn't it, buddy? My sister and I used to both give each other hell. Typical. But television has really taught us a lot of wrong theology about God. I read the comments by my viewers. Yes, by some of my non-Christian viewers, and I think they truly got their information out of the TV. None of it is true. None of it has any merit. None of it is scholastic. None of it is biblical. None of it is even close to being accurate. And yet they hold on to this stuff as if though it's gospel, and they talk so assuredly confident about it. And you go, really? Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. Anybody remember Bullwinkle? Oh, yeah. Television single-handedly in the United States has done more damage to form a person's worldview than anything else. The next thing in that order would be music, rock music, and today's pop stars. I was watching a video that Ivan sent on the kind of woman we need to avoid, the Jezebel spirit. Folks, I hate to say this, but when I look at 90% of the women in my break room, they're Jezebel spirit. I hate to even add this one. A lot of Christian women in today's Christian, cultural Christian America are Jezebel spirits. But Pacific, haven't you had a wrong view of women? Oh my gosh, yes. Can I tell you, I had a friend in Duluth, Minnesota. His name was Tom. I liked him. He was definitely professionally bound. We both worked at Highland Plasma Center together. He was from a small town called Chisholm, Minnesota, where I used to go to the Baptist church there. I liked Tom. On a summer day in Duluth, when I first moved there, he'd say, hey, I'll pick you up in the truck. I'll take you up to see my family. We'll go to the Iron Range. I had no idea what the Iron Range was. Little did I know, years later, I'd live there and be running for my life. Crazy, crazy, weird place. Yes, there's small towns in America that are frightening. Something out of a Freddy Krueger movie. No, I'm not talking the guy with the axe running around killing people, but it has that feel. You can go all across this land and you can see the fingerprints of media culture have had far more reaching effects than the Bible has. Far more reaching effects than truth has. Whatever happened to modesty? Now, let me say something for the viewers. Pacific has been very sexually immoral. There's no doubt about it. Especially when I went to Hong Kong and saw all these pretty women that really liked me. It was hard to say, oh, I'm going to be godly in every area of my life. Brown-skinned beauties wanting me, touching me, adoring me. How could I not keep my hands off of them? You go to the culture of the Philippines and they're back like the 1950s. They want a husband. They want a husband to be the leader, the provider, and they want to be housewife. We don't know what that looks like in this culture anymore, do we? But yet many Filipinas out of desperation will throw themselves, give themselves, literally abandon their standards just to feel love. The definition of what is changing on a global scale. We've met Sally Self-Righteous. We've met spinsters for Jesus, and that is not the standard. Remember I told you about the church secretary at a church in Arvada that played the little game with me? She came on to me, not I her. I noticed her. I thought, boy, she's cute. Mexican woman, short, small, petite. We went out a couple times. I finally got her to ride in my truck. I think we held hands for all of 60 seconds. I want a godly man. I want a godly man. I want a... You're the same age as me, babe. Have you found him? Nope, but I'm going to wait on God. Always talking about I don't want to commit sexual immorality, but then the same woman tells me one day when another teenage girl hugs her and she feels the teenage girl's breast poke into her, she goes, ooh, I felt something. I looked at her, I said, has it ever dawned on you that you're being too ridiculous in your search for a man? That maybe you ought to find somebody who does go to church, who does love God, and try to make a commitment direction that way? Because I'll tell you what, ladies, don't fool yourself. The rise of lesbian tendencies is off the charts in this country. My pastor just this weekend said that women are looking at porn on the internet just as much as men are. When I was a kid, it was men that looked at porn, never women. I never heard of couples viewing porn together. I remember Beth asked me to do it. She came to me in Hong Kong and told me, yeah, I talked to my friends about our problem and they say you guys need to look at porn together. And I looked at her and said, I don't think that's a good idea. Oh, I was very weak and I was holding on to a veneer, actually. She said, no, my girlfriend said that we ought to, that they've done it. I said, are you sure you want to do this? And I did. And we watched Girl on Girl, and I couldn't believe it, but her eyes were just... Yes, I admit that. Can I be very graphic? She was a very difficult woman to get along with. She was not real warm. But my gosh, it was really easy to have a orgasm laying on her, feeling her skin against me, and looking at that. Gosh, we did that several times that day. I know why couples do this. The zing, the zest, and the pizzazz has left the relationship. So let's get something titillating that'll spark it into overdrive. It's like that spark plug over that cylinder, that piston chamber. Combustionate, and it will. Can I tell you that sex, an addiction to sex, is much like a drug? Pretty soon, you want a higher and higher high. Can I tell you about an Asian girl I dated right here in Denver that, yes, we fooled around? Can I tell you that we did role play? That I would be all over her talking about what would it be like for you to do a woman, and that turned her on. It was fun. It was exhilarating. I even called my friends. Is that wrong? Is that wrong? You're not married and you're screwing around with a girlfriend is wrong, dude. What about bringing couples into the bedroom? You know, married man and wife seek another couple so they can have fun together. Here in Denver, you can go to Mon Chalet, which is an absolute toilet bowl of immorality. They got a swimming pool. There's probably more crabs and STDs floating around in there than you can shake a stick at. I've never been there. I came close to going. I heard you just swim in the pool, hang out. Problem is there's bisexual and gay men and all kinds of stuff going on in there. You know what? Let me tell you something. We think we can play with fire and not get burned. Did you know Pacific got an STD once? It was called Musculum contagium. It goes away, but it's highly contagious, and when you have it, you're not supposed to have sex with anybody. That worked real good at being a deterrent. It's like, well, I don't even want to do that anymore. You know, a little rash that showed up. I went to a doctor. He said, this is curable. It'll go away. Can I say something? That got me to stop. Do you know that was the only thing that got me to stop having sex? Now, don't think that I'm so perfectly moral, making out, heavy Frenching, and, yeah, feeling up and all that. I would, in my flesh, still go, yeah, we'll do that. But what if you got something worse? Herpes, gonorrhea, syphilis, or HIV. I'm watching people on Craigslist advertise they want to go out with somebody and they're advertising they have herpes simplex. Wow. So now we got to find somebody with an STD so that'll work. We laugh at God. We think we know more than God. We do what we want. And Americans, when we talk about Americans being self-centered, we really don't get a grip on that. Americans are so rebellious that they are going to do what they want. If you don't believe me, ride with me in my bus or my pickup truck and watch the way people drive. They refuse to submit to the speed limit. It is rebellion personified in the car. I'm not going to go to the speed limit. In fact, I'm going to drive like a toddler. If you're my way, I'm not even going to use a signal. I'm going to jerk around you like a 2-year-old grabbing a toy from another kid. I watch this all day and I go, you know, these are adult toddlers in these SUVs. Yesterday, I watched a woman in front of me, young girl, Texas plates, bicycle on the back, a toolbox on the top of the car. Light turned green and she's sitting way back from the intersection. I tap the horn. She moves up 2 feet. Doesn't go. I'm like, what the heck? I honked again. She still doesn't go. Light turns red and she sits there. She doesn't have a signal going. Light turns green. She doesn't go. And there's a lot of oncoming traffic. She doesn't have a turn signal going. So I went beep, 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 beep. She finally opens her door and holds up her cell phone. Ooh, I'm going to take a picture of you. And I said, look at the light. Then she finally turns on her turn signal. She turns the corner and goes 5 miles an hour, and then a car got between us, and the car was riding her butt and getting irritated. I'm like, wow, somebody from out of state, a young girl, is too busy screwing around on her phone. These young girls today think they're so full of authority. Ooh, I'm going to take a picture of your front bumper. What does that say? What are you going to do? Go to my boss and turn it in and say, yeah, I honked. She wouldn't go. It wasn't road rage. I didn't tailgate her. I didn't go like this. I'm going to say something. A lot of American women are absolutely awful, rude jerks, and they are Jezebels. I cannot believe, even in our break room, the number of women that are just like this all day long on their phones. They will not have a conversation with anybody. They dye their hair, their beautiful black hair with blonde streaks in it, got their little 2-inch boob cleavage going, and they're just all day long. What is so damn important that you can't conversate physically face to face with other people? The look of today's American women is as far from Bible as you can get. And their viewers' mind will go, so what, Pacific? We don't believe in the Bible. I understand that. But what about Christian women? It is Pacific's expressed belief that women should not be in authority over men, as Apostle Paul says in the Bible. They do not permit a woman to teach or have authority over men. And you look at today's women and they refuse to submit. And the Christian church has bought into the feminist jargon. Well, if I find a godly man, then I might submit. Is that what the word says? It says that women are supposed to carry themselves in such a way that if any of your husbands do not obey the word, that they may be won over by your chaste and other descriptive behaviors. Where did all this come from about our rights? Did you know we don't have any? We have the right to go to hell. We have the right to be separated from God and be dead in our sins, and we do not have a right to the grace of God. It is only by God's mercy that we have any hope in the world. We have a woman who's hired in an absolutely useless position where I work. She is petite, she is Mexican, and she walks out. She's got 2 inches of boobs with a push-up bra stuffed all the way up here, you know, where they're pointing at her chin. And she's got her cleavage showing, and she's got a sheer over it with a strap and backless thing. And you can see all that. And I think, wow, that's not even appropriate. But management looks the other way because she's a hottie. She comes out and talks in the fake plastic professional voice. She is less than half my age. Wait a minute. She's probably 20 years old. She prances out there and I think, wow. And I've watched guys and they are just undressing her. Of course, you don't need to. I'm going to say something bold because it needs to be said. Women in America do not know their place at all. Then we've got other women out there that are nice and they want to be married and they're not finding a man for whatever reason. They're not highly desirable physically. They've got limitations, whatever. And they'll get in bed with one man, another man, and another man. And we've become very comfortable with a very easy culture. That even I, in my recent past, you go out with a girl and you're really not into her, but, you know, you're horny. So you kiss, heavy petting, make out. And I think that most American men can testify that they've done that, even Christians. What is a godly woman supposed to look like? Well, Proverbs 31 addresses that with a virtuous woman. Who can find? She's rare. Her worth is more than rubies and gemstones. Now, we don't want to be self-righteous. Let's talk about Sally Spinster self-righteous for Jesus. We're feeling another woman's breast come into contact with her and she's feeling aroused. She's not going to commit sexual immorality with a man, and she's going to play this game. And there are a lot of women that play this game. And it's very effective with other ignorant women. Oh, she's such a nice girl, and she can't find a godly man. No, she's not a nice girl. And it's not that she can't find a godly man. It's called serial dating. It's warm up, flirt, come on to the man. And it's a push-pull. I'm going to pull you in as soon as you get close to me. Nope, nope, nope. You don't meet my standards. It's a power trip, folks. They're not looking for a godly man. They're not looking for any man. They're trying to create evidence in their mind whereby they can condemn all males, which slowly opens the door for the thinking that all men are bad. They're not quite as godly as I am. But oh, by the way, when that teenage girl hugged me, that was nice. And little by little, they erode their mind to start thinking that it might be okay to cross over there. That's not all spinsters for Jesus. There are some white women I know that are as cardboard and vanilla as they get. They don't care if they ever have sex. They don't have a sex drive. Don't ask me how that happens. Civic wants a woman who has a high sex drive. I make no bones about it. There's nothing ungodly about that. I don't want a woman who's cardboard and is going to lay there and I do everything and she's unmoved. No, thank you. Let me tell you something. Rihanna, Beyonce, Taylor Swift. We could go on down the list. Madonna, Lady Gaga, they are not poster children for godly women. But let's continue deeper into that. Beth Moore, Kay Arthur, Joyce Myers, Paula White, Jan Crouch. They are not poster child of children of godly women. Women want to be in charge, and if you think I'm kidding, look at Joyce Myers Ministries. She is wearing the pants. She is at the helm. She is not a submissive woman. We don't hear about her husband. He's off living off of her income, making big fat money, being submissive to that while he gets a $130,000 car. I read that, by the way. He's got 7 to 10 very expensive automobiles. That men today don't know how to act around a woman. I admitted yesterday that a woman who's heavier come in with all her cleavage showing. I admit I noticed it. And she's the kind of a woman that I consider, wow, nice. She smiles. She goes, thank you. I thought you'd like that. Yes, that was said. She's got a boyfriend, by the way. And she just went to Texas with another guy, got drunk, was laying in a parking lot, buck naked, and cop asked this friend of hers to cover up and get her back in the motel room. No tickets issued. I said, boy, you're lucky there. Do I want a relationship with that woman? For a wife? No. She smokes. There's obesity. There's habits I don't go for. I like her as a person, believe it or not. We get along good in the workplace. But Pacific has a problem. I've been so affected by the culture that you think, gosh, you know, I'm lonely. Those cha-chas look real good. I don't want to make love with her. She doesn't move me. I wouldn't look over at her across the seat on my pickup and be proud to be seen with her. No. But how many of you guys have done that? How many of you guys have gone out with a girl that you're half-hearted about? She had nice looking breasts and you played with them and then you felt like, what did I do that for? Did you know our whole dating culture is godless? I hate to sound Joshua Harris-y. I'm not saying he's full of heresy, but I think he goes a little bit legalistically too far about I kiss dating goodbye. Courting is wonderful, but I think courting starts when you're at a young age. And It's tough. And the problem is most of what we do on a date is go to a movie. There's a good idea. You go with a good-looking woman that you're turned on by her looks, and you're going to go into a dark room, sit in chairs next to each other, and then you're going to have this horror scene, and she's going to grab onto you, and wow, it just all goes downhill from there. Let me put my arm around you. Let me kiss you. Let me lick your ear. Let's start Frenching. And then you can get my car or truck, and we'll just steam up the windows. I was thinking the other day, really would like to find a beater special pickup. Every time I get in my truck. Boy, this is going to shock some people. I used to call my truck the love machine. I've had more dates and more, sexual follies in my truck. Yes. No, I didn't make a mess in there. It's not like that. But I've had a lot of lovemaking in my pickup truck. A lot. I met a girl on Craigslist in Spokane. Very nice. She was all into me. She was from Coeur d'Alene, and we spent the better part of the day parked at the head of a bike path, thinking it was private, and we were going at it. I don't have tinted windows, and then another vehicle pulls up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I'm pulling clothes over us to hide us, and we're just laying there going, let's just wait until they get out, get their bikes, and leave. Well, then they're fooling around, and then I'm like, you know what? I covered her up, pulled on my pants, and I said, let's get out of here. Why am I telling that? Am I boasting? I'm telling you guys this to let you know that those of you that look up to me and say I'm such a godly man, no, I'm not. I'm godly because of the righteousness of the shed blood of Jesus, but I have not been very righteous as a Christian man in some of my behaviors. I admit it was fun. But the guilt sucks. Because you go out of that going, wow, that was hot. That was a nice little romp. But it's like, yep, and God just isn't smiling at that act. One of the most beautiful black women I ever was. Her name was Africa. She was a prostitute. And I decided one day I was so utterly lonely. I went down Sprague in good old Spokane, and $100 for that. I've never felt such firm breasts in a woman. She may have had implants, I don't know, but she had an Asian tattoo right here. She was stunning. But she was very nice to me. But they're all nice to you because it's about money. They don't love you. They don't care. And one thing I found out, because I had frequented a few prostitutes there. One was not pretty at all. Another one I got, we started to do something, her phone rang, she goes, oh my gosh, I gotta go. And she even said, here's my number, we'll call, we can finish this later. I never did. But she did send me a text saying, I'm good on my promise, you did pay me, I owe you. I said, keep the change. Sometimes I just did it just to suck boobs. Didn't go all the way. Loneliness. The Bible says it is not good for man to be alone, and we don't even stop and think that. Now, I don't want us to start using that as an excuse. Well, I sinned because look what Pacific did. Hey, if you choose to sin, don't you dare pin that tail on that donkey on me. You take ownership for it yourself. It's a wonder I didn't catch STDs and all kinds of things. It's a wonder that I actually met a prostitute that I actually liked. There were two, actually. One I took to dinner just to be with her. She was dating a guy, and she had told this guy, I do this, and I like doing this. I met another girl. She was a brunette. She's an American woman, and she was good looking. I thought, gosh, wouldn't you just be my girlfriend? I'll pay for your dinner and stuff. And instead of having all this risk, I remember we sat in my truck in the back of a warehouse that was closed down for the day, private little parking lot in the back there, and going at it. And I remember her telling me, my gosh, you're good. You're hot. And she was stunning. But what a cheap life. And most men aren't nice like me. Most men that are doing that will tell a woman, get down and suck me. I mean, they are demeaning to women, and women today don't know their place, and men don't know their place. Men today, the whole media culture has deeply affected males, excuse me. Men think that manhood is defined by the size of your pickup and the loudness of the engine and the stacks coming out of your bed, the beer hat. I mean, there's so much imagery that men associate. Remember the Marlboro Man? Really? Wow, you smoke a cigarette, you're so macho. Yeah. Don't you love the beer commercials? Busty American hot women, you know, the traditional, typical American tanned look, walking in like this with her cores in her hand. Pacific is turned off by the sight of a woman with a cigarette in her hand or a beer can. Women have not. And when I hear women say, you don't know me, I do. There's nothing to get to know. You've been defined by a media culture and a cultural Christian culture if you're a Christian, and there's no mystique. That even Pacific deep down inside knows something. If I'm horny, I know that I can wear a woman's defenses down. I know because I've done it. No, I'm not forceful. I don't rape. I don't aggressive. But I know how to pour it on. I know what it takes to wear a woman down where she'll unbutton that shirt and lean back against me. I know what to do. And as my cousin and I both said, because we've been down that road, our radar's up. We can tell the loose woman. We can tell the woman that wants us. We can tell. We're all over that. The Bible says there must not even be a hint of sexual immorality. There's been more than a hint. Should I slide those boxcar doors open and show you my entire mansion of rooms of that? Somebody will tune into this and go, boy, you're boasting. No. Every one of those experiences was all in the flesh. There's no eternal value from any of those. There is no God sitting up there smiling, wow, Mikey's getting some. Our culture says that. You can get a lot of encouragement. Man, did you do her? She's hot. I've had other women say, did you F her? And they're smiling. People are proud of their sin today, folks. It is not good for man to be alone. And when a man is alone, and if there's one thing I learned about an overseas marriage is that it is not God's will for you to do that to yourself. If you got so much money that you can go get a foreign woman, you go stay over there with her. You file paperwork over here, and you stay with her until you can bring her. Forget about all the problems with Beth and her dysfunction and everything else. Being involved in a relationship overseas was a joke. Can I say something? The prostitution that I did was while I was married to her and away from her for over a year. What does the Bible say about that? Come together again so that Satan doesn't tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Did you know that it's implicit there? Who is Paul talking to? He's talking to married couples. Come together again, except to be devoted to prayer and all this, but come together so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. It's a given. We do have a lack of self-control. This idea that people walk around saying, oh, I'm holy, I'm righteous, I control myself. You're kidding yourself. Take heed lest you fall. When God brings a man and a woman together, this idea of a man going away for months at a time to do his job or whatever, your wife should be coming along with you. That's why there's one good thing about truck drivers. Often they're allowed to let their wives come with them. The way I look at it, some wives get that travel. Yeah, it's truck stops, but you get to see America, and I like that. I think that's the best thing for a man and a woman to be together on an 18-wheeler because at least you're together. He's working. You can be there to support him. And when he's there and there's lot lizards all over the place, you can say, no thanks, I got my wife. This is unvarnished stuff, folks. I'm not here to whitewash a darn thing. I'm going to tell you something else. There's a lot of bad marriages out there. I was in Spokane. There was a woman from Nicaragua, and she was a head turner. Even the married stalwart men of the church, I caught them turning their head going. She had a rack. She had tan skin. She was Latina. She was Nicaraguan. The first time I met her, she had that long, beautiful hair. And she shook my hand and she goes, we were close to the same age. And I felt something the minute I talked to her. I was like, oh my gosh, this woman's drop dead freaking gorgeous. She's a Christian. She goes, here's my number. I need a friend. And like a dummy, I said, but you're married, is that okay? No, my husband wants me to find friends. I drive him nuts. I gave her mine and she called me. I mean, right away. Do you want to go to Coeur d'Alene and go to the lake? And we went. Her own husband came up and said, I'm comfortable with you being around her. I know you. Really? Yep. So we went to Coeur d'Alene. And we were sitting there in the truck talking, facing the lake. And of course, I'm a dummy. I knew that what I was doing wasn't right, but I didn't care. She goes, you look tense. I said, I am. Let me massage you. It's okay. And I did. And she's rubbing those things up against me, and I'm like, dang it. We never did have sex, but we started hanging out a lot more. We went down to the Spokane River. We even found a place down there by the river and carved our names on a rock. So if somebody goes down there, they'll see evidence of my sin there somewhere. Michael and Marlene. Wow. When we left the river that day, we drove in our truck and we were doing some heavy making out. We stopped and parked facing away from all the canoers that were putting in their canoes. They couldn't see us and we're just kissing away. And when we went to leave, and she rips off her shirt and brought us, said, what are you doing? I admit it. She was a looker. She came over to my apartment, I put on the Spanish music, and she starts doing this whole thing in front of me and stripping, and I was like, oh man, come on. She wanted me to run with her to Nicaragua, and I said no, and finally one day I said, look, we got to stop this. You're married, and I want you, and this is wrong, wrong, wrong. Does your husband know you're doing this? And then she said something very interesting. You know, Michael, I bought some sexy bra and a sexy panties, and I walked up to him and he's drinking his beer, and I went like this and he wasn't even moved, and I said, oh, what? Then she started discussing with me all of the problems in their marriage, that he was drinking and wasn't moved by her. And I, feeling conviction that I'm involved with a married woman, said, you know what, we can't do this, hon. I said, you need to not call me and you need to take care of this problem. She begged me to go to Nicaragua with me. We can start a business. We can make it. This was when I was involved. This was when Beth and I had rehooked up 2009 before I actually went over there and married her. My viewers will be shocked. They'll go, wow, you really are a messed up individual. Yeah, I am. Finally, I told her, because the church secretary introduced the two of us. I said, I will call the secretary and I will tell her what is going on. I said, this needs to stop. We are not going to, God is not going to bless this. And it was a rainy day. And she kept calling me and said, I'm going to come over. And I said, no, I'm going to come over and I'm going to go talk to Alex right now. And I drove right over to the house, banged on the door, and she goes, Michael, what are you doing here? I said, we need to talk now. She goes, come on, I'll talk to you out in the truck. She gets out there, starts kissing on me. I said, stop it. Is he here? No, he isn't here. I said, do you think he would go for this? She goes, I already told him. I said, you told him that you've been fooling around with me and we've been hanging out down by the river and making out and petting and playing. Yes, I did. I said, how come he's not mad? That guy was big enough. He could have hurt me. He was from Hungary. He doesn't care. I said, well, then you divorce him and whatever, and then we can go out. But no. We add to ourselves dysfunction after dysfunction, and then we wonder why we have problems. When I say she was good looking, I'm not joking around. Nice shoulders, nice figure. She was good looking. They ended up separating. She went to California, and then she went back to Nicaragua, and I don't know what happened. The lady I rented from in Spokane that went to the same church, she knew her very well, and I told her what happened. She smiled and laughed. She goes, wow, you guys got intimate, huh? I said, somewhat. She goes, I used to watch the white men in the church that used to talk a good talk, and I watched them looking at her rack, too. I said, you're kidding, and she started dropping names. She goes, Michael, I was very loose, and I know what it looks like. And she walked through that room, and all those guys that are with their lily white wives were turning their eyes going, dang. And she even smiled at me and said, she is good looking, isn't she? I said, oh my gosh. She goes, she really liked you. I said, oh, and then some. She even told me, why you go to Hong Kong for some Filipina? Forget that. You got a woman in a marriage, not getting the attention she needs. And she talked the same thing I talked. She talked about cultural Christians. She said, the people are too comfortable in this church. I said, yeah, but look at what we're doing. She goes, because I have so much passion in me and I can't express it. I'll tell you what, marriage is tough, folks. And if there's one thing I can do, when I look back and I heard the whole story of how they met and everything, they never should have gotten married. Never, never, never. They were not bone of bone and heart of heart. Not at all. And I'm going to say something that my viewers aren't going to like, especially in light of the focus on the family movement, that you can restore the love. If you married for the wrong reasons, if you got involved with somebody that you really did not submit to the will of God on, that marriage is going to go. You'd only be staying it out of rote ritualism and be chafing and angry inside. I know. I did that for 14 years. I did not love the woman I was married to for 14 years. Not at all. I did not love the first wife. I did love Beth. So I thought. Do you know what's funny is when I talk about Beth, I don't have a hatred towards her. I don't feel that rage towards her that I feel towards the woman I was married to for 14 years. The one I was married to for 14 years, she was downright wicked, mean, evil, malicious, deceitful, lying, conniving. Beth, she was naive. She wasn't interested in my heart. I was too stupid to see it right away, and I kept believing. How many times did Beth tell me, if you have enough faith? And I finally stood up and said, it's funny that you tell me to have enough faith when it comes out of my bank account, not yours. What you mean by that? What I mean, that I just spoke something that make you uncomfortable because I'm finally speaking truth. And I noticed when I started standing on the truth with her, she exploded. The way she yelled at me one day, I came home and I shut the door real hard and I said, you are not going to talk to me this way. You're done. I'm the head of this house, and if you don't like it, get out. She paused. Women, don't ever think that you're in the right when you're being feminist to your husband. That is not a fruit of the Spirit. Men, don't ever think that hot woman you have is not going to play around if you're not giving her attention and meeting her needs. When a hot woman comes after me, and she could have gotten a number of guys far superior to myself, and she's ripping her shirt and bra off in my truck and going crazy. No, she wasn't out drinking. She hated that stuff. Today's culture has redefined the American female. The American female thinks that she's being herself. No, she is not. She's been brainwashed by a grid of thinking, and she's been transformed by the renewing of a culture that is anti-God, that is followed right into the church. Today's American women are far from the standard. I still struggle. I still struggle. Because of the way things have changed so much, I've allowed so much compromise to come into my life over the years. There was a woman I knew, never met her face to face, but we'd talk on the phone, and we both would look at some girl on girl. I'd send her the link, she'd look at it, we'd watch together and joint masturbate over the phone together. Fun, fun, fun. It is not good for man to be alone. It's not good for woman to be alone. I was not attracted to the woman. I liked her as a person, but I wasn't attracted to her. She said she started watching girl-on-girl porn. No guy had ever asked her out. How does a woman like that get through her life? We seem to think they don't have a sex drive. More and more girls are getting into girl-on-girl porn. Somebody at work the other day said, I admit, when I'm horny, that's the first thing I look at. I want a guy, but I admit that stuff is hot. How come guys can't be that sensual? I can. Can I say something in the flash? I've had women tell me, no man has ever made love to me the way you have. I remember I was so intoxicated with one of the Filipinas I was with that I laid her arms back and licked her underarms. So clean and smooth. She said, oh my gosh, nobody's ever done that. That is so sensual. I mean, I was all over it. Do you think that's a skill? Do you think that's an art? No, I learned. It's all part of my acceptance issues. I knew I was rejected most of my life. And I learned that one thing I'm going to get in any woman I'm with is I'm going to make my mark on her that she'll never forget. That I will go down as having the reputation of being the best lover she's ever had. You think I don't know how to work it? Oh, yeah, I do. How did I get there? Didn't get touch growing up, didn't get hugs, didn't get affection. And the first time a girl bumped up against me, a Sherry in junior high, the first time I felt a girl's skin against mine, I was like, whoa, what was that? Wow. And I started looking at her going, wow, There's something really erotic about her look. Moms and dads, you better pay attention. You are causing sexual imprinting. I'm tired of this gay thing. I'm born that way. Okay, Lady Gaga, stick to your day job. And what is that? Lady Gaga did a version of something from The Sound of Music the other day, and everybody's saying how wonderful it was. Do you see how we've made sin palatable? Lady Gaga is a freak. Lady Gaga is a godless woman. She pushes the envelope at all levels, just like Madonna did. But she'll go and do something really good, and everybody suddenly... What's happened is we are the frog in the kettle. There's lesbian stuff around us. I admit, lesbian porn is absolutely hot. But it's wrong. How did we get there? How did we get to allowing all this? Because we become comfortable with it. It's been in our face. Lady Gaga's up there going like this. Mow. And now she sings a good song that endears her to the older people. Wow, that's pretty good. I remember my grandmother telling me to read Proverbs when I was a kid, to go to church, go to the Bible, United Methodist. And then when I went to see her back in 1996, I said something about the homosexuals. She goes, oh, I don't care what they do as long as they don't bother me. Whoa, the slippage. We've become so familiar with this as long as they don't bother us. And now it's even gone so far. Well, you got to admit, they really care for each other. Care? Like a lion being in charge of daycare of a sheep. Yeah, I like that little Because I'm on YouTube, I see a lot of media that people push to me. I can't believe how much cussing and profanity, GD, JC, and foulness towards God. I used to have a stand in my life that anything that has cussing in it, I won't listen to it. Excuse me, music, videos, movies. As soon as I heard a cuss word, click. I did that when I was married. Oh, but that was such a good movie. I said, such a good movie. Lady Gaga is such a good singer because she sang Julie Andrews' Sound of Music song. Really? But you know what's funny is I've gone to churches where I've got more condemnation. If I were to sit down in any church in America, and especially the Frozen Chosen, and told them all the things I did, it's so funny the way people look at me down there when I was there. They have no idea what I've done in the last how many years of my life. And if they knew, I wouldn't care. I'd be like, you know what? I stand before God, not them. They're materialistically narcissistic, though they don't commit sexual immorality. And they look at somebody like me, if they heard my story, they would gasp. What is the difference between sexual immorality and materialism? Well, when a man sins sexually, he sins against his own body. Okay, but materialism, isn't that idolatry? Violation of the first commandment? Thou shalt have no other gods? I could go on and on, viewers. On and on. American women today have been redefined and repackaged that they don't even know themselves. Back to that woman at work that said my hair looked like the SHIT. Now she's dyed her hair blue. She's pudgy, she's overweight, she's moody, she's got a unhappy countenance. I came into the parking lot one day. She didn't even yield and almost, just I honked. Now she won't even talk to me and look at me. Today's women, you confront them, you point out a wrong, and boy, they want to beat you up. I heard on the way to work yesterday, Dr. David Jeremiah started talking about how much anger there is in the roads and in airports. Talking about people in airports and in traffic getting out and having fistfights. Cub Foods, Duluth. Cub Foods had opened. Somebody was waiting for a parking spot. Somebody backed out. Vehicle came in the other way. Saw the guy waiting, and he pulled in and took it. That guy pulled up behind him, waited for the guy to get out of the car, and Duluth. You know, the land of the stoic. Men are not leading today. Most of the churches in America, the men have capitulated to the dominance of today's female, and they will not say from the pulpit whatever offends a female. They won't do it. They won't talk about, they won't address the dress issue, no pun intended. They won't address the attitudes of today's woman. Oh, they'll make a meager mention of gossiping. That, by the way, in Philippine is chismis. Chismis. It's just gossip. Every culture in the world has a problem with hens going back, 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 back. And women love it. They drink it up. It's like spoon-fed honey. In our break room, I watch women. Did you hear? They eat that crap up. Today's women acting like males, the alpha female. I'm going to tell you something. The alpha female is not a godly woman. I'm tired of American females telling me, oh, you just don't like a confident woman. No, I don't like an arrogant woman who doesn't know her place. You're godless, you're Christ-hating, and you are not the standard, girl. Watch any American female vocalist video and watch what you see. They look sexy, breast implants, tons of Bondo makeup. I guarantee you they couldn't make love with me as well as any of the Asian females I made love with, or that flirting around with the Nicaraguan woman. That's all an image today. Schultz tells stories of deliberately now enjoying, saying, I don't need you. And girls that think he's a hunk will come on to him, and when he doesn't respond, they start acting out and getting mad. Isn't that interesting? I do it at work. I have started ignoring a lot of the Hispanics, both in the offices and some of the drivers that think they're all out in a bag of chips. They won't even look at me because I will look at them very sternly, and I've got a face that says, don't even talk to me. And it's not Christ-like, but it's because they think they're better. They're discriminating against us. They're rude in the office positions they're in. Pacific has his own way of preaching a message. Sometimes I don't need to open my mouth. I carry myself in a way that says, and that's going around. Do you notice that he doesn't talk to several of us? Yeah, put it all together. You're doing it to us. I know. Jesus says, if you greet only those who greet you. I'm working on that. I'm watching racism go the other way. It's okay for the Hispanics and the blacks to be racist, but it's not okay for us to comment on that. You know what? To the black community in America and the Hispanic community that are behaving like a bunch of jerks, don't tell me what racism is, because you are promoting it way more than I ever have in my entire 49 years. I think that, and that's a whole nother subject. But I've said it, and I'll say it again. Women are a danger in the workplace where men are there. There are women that if you accidentally bump into them and you don't say, excuse me, watch out, you'll land in the office. If a woman gets offended at something, even though a week before she said all this BS to you, to your face, it was just atrocious, watch out, you'll be in the office. Now this woman's dyed her hair blue, and I'd love to go up to her and say, your hair looks like... American women have too high of a view of themselves. Most. American women have a wrong view of God. I can point to my ex-wife and point that out as clear as the sun is shining on a sunny day. Women generally think that there's nothing wrong with them. Women generally don't admit, I'm wrong, I'm sorry. It is easier for women to be fake and contrived even at 20 years old, while showing your cleavage. Where's management? I'm tempted to write an email and say, I am personally offended by this woman's dress. It is provocative, it is sensual, sexual, and it's wrong. Why is management allowed to do this? The reason I won't take the time to write that letter is it puts a target on my back, because whatever guy is lusting after is going to go, geez, this guy's got a problem with that. No, it works like this. The women that management doesn't want to see their cleavage, they're addressed about dressing appropriately. The women that management does want to see the cleavage, they're ignored. That's how that works. She's cute, we'll let her slide. That one's not, we'll tell her to button it up. There was a white woman who worked there who didn't show near as much cleavage as the others. She was constantly being talked to. And she came to me, she goes, look at her. I said, I know, alpha female black gets away with that. I mean, there's no firmness there. She comes in and the whole thing's, watch it wiggle, jello, brand gelatin. I don't find that attractive. We got another woman, same thing. She's lost so much weight, and there's nothing here. It's all marshmallows. And all the guys fawn and go crazy after her. Women that talk loud, women that want to be heard, women that are walking around thinking they're all that in a bag of chips, that is not a godly woman. No way. That is not a woman that God endorses. They're showing how lost they are, how empty they are. And even women dating guys think nothing of it to flirt. A woman that's very attractive, who's married, who wanted to hang out with me. And yes, I admit, we used to walk down on our break down to the river, and I'd take my shirt off and sit on a rock, and she'd talk and share food with me, and it was all nice. And one day I said, don't you feel uncomfortable? And she's a Christian. She goes, no, I'm secure in the relationship I have with my husband, and he trusts me, and I would never cheat on him. But I said, why do you want to hang out with me so much? Because you're a nice guy, and I really like you. But can I say something? Us as single men, can we fool ourselves and think that's okay? I don't hang out with her anymore. One, because she's much younger than me, and she's bought into that PC thinking. And the older I get, I have no patience for that. And I admit, I'm a little rough around the edges myself sometimes. I'm just, when I see that in action, I bristle. You know, where the hair raises up on your neck and I don't feel comfortable with fake plastic. And, you know, every time I say something, oh, that was good, you said that? Yes, I did say that. Boy, that wasn't political. I don't care if it's politically correct. I told her that the other day. I said, I don't care. It's the truth. Why are we being bully whipped into a corner and panty whipped by a bunch of women as to what we can say and not say? Excuse me, I'm the man. I'm the head of my house. Whether I'm married or not, I'm the head of my house. You don't own a house, Pacific. No, I don't. But that means I'm the head of my... I'm not the head of this household. And even I submit to the fact that he's the head of this household. And that goes for you men. If you're living under people's roofs, you're under the authority of that individual that owns that home and is married to his wife. That doesn't mean he can do whatever he wants to you. I'm not talking about that. But even Pacific places himself under authority. I place myself under the authority of my boss, even if she's a woman. I hate that. But I have no choice. It's not supposed to be that way. But women aren't submitting. Women are out there doing whatever they want. They're rabid materialists. They're very much into their rights and their self-centeredness. They're not doing hardly anything for their men today. It's about their new car, their new truck. I was looking through, I can't remember where I was. It used to be called the Auto Trader, but now it's something here in Colorado. And I was looking at all the vehicles. I was like, gosh. When I started discussing that maybe it's time to upgrade my truck for another $3,000 special, rather than pay for probably a transmission that'll need to be put in there, and now I smell gas. It's not leaking, but there's a smell. And if I take that to emissions in a year from now, it's going to fail, because if they smell that, they'll shut it down. It runs like a top. And then this girl who never really talks to me starts going, hey, that one's nice, that one's nice. Oh, yeah, now you're interested. Where did Christian women get the viewpoint that the man's supposed to provide? Well, the Bible says if a man provide not for his own family. But can I say something, women? You're not being fair. Why do women grab onto that piece of Scripture, isolate it out, but when it comes to submission and being a godly woman, they ignore all that? I want a man who's financially secure and will take care of me. Yeah, but are you a bitch? Are you rude? Are you unsubmissive? Are you a materialist who's going to follow her own will and the man's supposed to pamper you? How come you ignore all the verses that talk about chaste, modest, submissiveness, meekness? When's the last time you met a woman who exudes a meekness in America? No. There's times when I've talked to Maharani and I've had sharp disputes with her, and I said, you know what? I'm not even going to listen to this anymore. You're out of line. And you know what? She said, I'm sorry. I was. Wow, you won't get that here. Not at all. They'll ramp it up some more. I listen to women in the break room, and I hear this one black woman. The minute I hear her voice, I bristle. I just want to say, shut up. Nobody wants to hear you. Nobody except your lame group of overweight, legend in their own mind losers. Well, I don't care what anybody thinks about me. Really? That's bull. When I ignore you, you'll make it a point to get my attention. And I don't give it to you. You're not pretty, you're not attractive, you're nothing. That's the devil. And the whole Jezebel thing that we talk about is this: women are going to stand up for their rights, and they're going to tell every man, they're going to tell a man. And then you even hear preachers from the pulpit say, if a man loved his wife the way he was supposed to, what woman wouldn't want to submit? Let's go back to the Word of God, that even if they obey not the Word, that they may be won over by your. Women, you need to get something in your heads. Going up against a man, men are designed with fight or flight. When you get into our face, we're forced to do one of two things. And I've watched the dad who adopted me. He's finally flighted. He's just laid down, exposed his belly to his awful wife, which is my mother, who wears the pants. Disgusting. I didn't need to see that growing up. I need to see a man turn around and said, you know what, woman, silence yourself. You're out of line. You're not allowed to say that today in a Christian marriage. You know that? If I were to turn around and say, hey, you know what, shut up. Well, that's harsh. No, you're so far out of line that that's the only thing that's going to get your attention. Women today will say you shouldn't say shut up to somebody, but they'll yell and rail and scream and put down their husbands, and that's okay. They want a man to be the provider and financially secure, but they don't want to do a thing to lift a finger to help with that. And they're not even going to submit to you. They're going to hold this thing over males' heads that if you're godly, well, that's a carrot at the end of the stick. Because the minute in their mind, whether real or imagined, and they feel that you're not being quite godly, well, then they've got an out. Oh, you didn't quite do it that way. I don't have to submit. That's not what the Bible says. These women that will get on dating sites and say, I don't need a man, but then what are you doing on a dating site, retard? And I'm going to say it, that's retarded thinking. If you don't need a man, why are you here? What is your point in telling us you don't need us, but you want us? That's retarded. I read the dating sites of today's American women, and the reason many of them aren't getting dates is nobody wants to be with them anymore. Some of us have been desperados. We've taken second best, and we've paid for that. Let me say something to my viewers. I love it when some wag gets on my channel and says, Pacific can't get a date. That's bunk. I could get a date by the end of the week if I massaged it hard enough. I don't want to date these women, man. There's a woman at work that's interested in me. She's older than me. She's not my type. She's nice. She's a Christian. She's not my type. She's always commenting on how much energy I have, and she likes to sit on her butt. And I told her point blank, I said, I am not your type of guy. Why do you say that? Because. But I really should just turn around and say, because my heart is in Asia and it's not into this culture. And you and I sitting at your house and watching TV is just not what I'm into, man. I'm finally getting more scrutinizing. Yeah, I could be alone. I could go over and say, gosh, those breasts look pretty nice. I don't want to. I'm finally becoming a little more discriminating. They talked about the marshmallow test. David Jeremiah, you put a kid in a room and the doctor comes in and says, if you don't touch any of those marshmallows, when I come back, I'll give you 2. Or you can have 1 while I'm gone, but only 1. They said that the kids that grabbed that 1 marshmallow were less likely to be successful in life with relations. I was like, really? They did a study and followed them up. And the kids that waited, and I started thinking, boy, I wonder if I would have failed that test. When you're feeling up a girl and you're Frenching, you're taking advantage of all the fringe benefits of a marriage. And it's very easy to go, well, you know, that was fun, but she's not really my type. And then we do that from one girl after another girl after a girl, serial dating. That's your little harem. I've been raised in a dating culture. It's still in me. Oh, man, it's been a stressful week. I'd love to go out with a woman and do some heavy making out tonight. It's in me. I haven't dated anybody. New Year's, I went out with that wingnut, Latavian basket case. Viewers, we have to look into the perfect law of God if we're going to get a definition of who we are supposed to be. I'm not there, you're not there. But let me make it crystal clear that we need to look into that as our standard. I'm sorry, I got to say something. One of the guys that's getting into God at work, he says, oh, I was listening to Iron Butterfly. I said, you? I mean, heavy metal. I'm not into that. Sorry, guys. I hope I'm not offending you. We all got our music tastes and everybody's different. But even Christians, we become so comfortable with things that we should be repudiating. I and you, music choices. Did you see CSI? Did you watch this? Did you watch that? We are putting stuff into our lives that we shouldn't. And I struggle. I mean, there are legalistic Christians say you shouldn't be on YouTube. There's so much immorality on there. As long as I'm not contributing to it, as long as I'm not participating in it, I can use this form as a tool, and it has been. But I'll tell you what, sifting through media culture, there's a lot of sin out there. I listened to a video, the music's good, and there's a bunch of Romanian women. Oh my gosh, I just want to put my tongue all over them. You know what? We are under assault, folks. And that's my alarm to get up. I set that every day, and I never need it. But it's just a safeguard. I got to get ready for work, folks. But let me tell you something. Today's American women, even Christian women, they're way off. The spinsters for Jesus are not looking for a godly man. They're building in themselves an excuse why they don't have to be involved with men because they're all less than godly. And you know what's destructive about that? I went to that church. I committed no sin against that woman. We didn't even kiss. I didn't touch her inappropriately, nothing. She was so utterly rude to me and so horrible. And then I left that church. Not one person called, nobody. And I thought, yeah, she went around and said, well, he's not godly. He doesn't want to be committed to sharing all his ex-sins to the pastor. By the way, I talked to the man of the house and he said, I do not believe. He said that there's a counseling out there that men should go to their wives and tell them all the sins they did before they were married. I'm going to tell you something, viewers. Women, if you're like that, shame on you. Are there some things men should tell women, like, yeah, you killed somebody and did hard time in jail for 30 years and now you're out? Yeah, you need to let her know that. But can I say something? I don't think that a man should be subjected to, Pacific should not have to sit down with the next potential woman that's interested in me and say, yep, I humped this woman and humped that woman and humped that woman. I felt this woman's breasts and I licked this woman's nipples and we French kissed and, you know, I massaged her down here. Bullcrap. Not too many women are willing to get that deep into their sins, are they? In fact, when you start questioning a woman, you know what? The past is under the blood. Well, so is mine, babe. So don't go there. The Bible says he removes our sins as far as the east is from the west, and the American woman brings the east and the west together and says, I want to focus on your wrong. You know why? Because they'll use it against you later. I guarantee it. You want a woman who falls in love with you, not a silly rose-colored glasses love, but says, you know, I know you're a dirty dog pig, but I love you. And I'm going to pray that God will help me to grow through you and you to grow through me. That's what a relationship's all about. I know a lot of spinsters for Jesus. They're stuck up. They're rude. They dress inappropriately. They're provocative. They lead men on. They flirt with them. They tease them. They go out with them. Some of them will even date, feel up. Well, he's not so godly. Well, neither are you, babe. You allowed him to put his hands under your bra. We all need to look into the Word. When we step out of the will of God, when I got involved with a woman where there were red flags all over the place about the Hong Kong woman, and you know what? That opened the door for so much sin, viewers. I can't tell you that when we make one wrong choice, it just opens the door for dominoes to fall into other areas and arenas. That Pacific was with prostitutes, that Pacific was running around with other people's wives. They came on to me. The Korean gal, she came on to me. She responded to my post, and I didn't know she was married right at first, but then she revealed all that. She sent me pictures of herself, but I allowed myself to go, oh my gosh, she's Asian, she's cute. I just got back from Hong Kong, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's an Asian girl that responded to me. What are the chances of that? I got it. Then she hired me to landscape. And I did put my heart into that, but then she'd ride to the store with me. Then she'd sit next to me. And then one day I said, can I kiss you? And she didn't say no. And then she'd come out and, you know, fan me when it was hot and give me water and do this. Sorry, but when you pet the cat's going to put its tail up and, ooh, that feels good. I'm going to muzzle up against her. I'm not putting her down. She had a tough marriage with an overweight guy who had no drive. Who, any woman be married to that man, it would be a chore. But how did I get to the point where I allowed myself to compromise with women? Today, it's so open. There are so many women in my workplace that are married that will touch me. Hi, Mike. Women think it's okay to have their friends, and men now are telling women, if your boyfriend or husband doesn't accept you hanging out with other men, you tell them you're done. What? I think that women should not be in the workplace leading on men at all if they're married, and they should not be dressed at all in any kind of revealing manner. That's real popular opinion today, right? No. American women. I finally read the lyrics to that song. That's accurate. Now, women have rebelled God at all levels. And in many ways, they're leading the pack. And males have just sat back and taken it and let it happen. Women are not supposed to be in leadership roles. Women are not supposed to teach or have authority over us men. Any setting, any time, anywhere. Women are supposed to be keepers of the home. Men are supposed to go out and work. And if men were allowed to go out and work, the corporate American machinery knows when they got women into the workforce, they could raise the cost of everything, making it mandated that it now takes two. And a man now, when he does marry a woman who goes in the workplace, now has to worry that she's going to start flirting. That I spend more time with some of the female coworkers I have in the workplace setting than I do if I was married to a wife. That's why it's not a bad idea for men and women to go into business together and have their own home-style business. I tell you what, the assault on the marriage, the assault on morality is bad. Pacific has not been a good example of walking morality. I'm not endorsing immorality. I'm not saying, oh, it's okay. It's not okay. It's a sin. And God does not hold us guiltless. Our movies encourage this. Our pop culture encourages this. Even churches encourage it. I remember my first wife, her father, who was a stalwart Baptist, said it's okay to pat. Seriously now. You're feeling some girl's nipples and you're all hot and heavy in the car. I remember the AMC Matador I had, and we're steaming up the windows with heavy petting and making out. You are torturing yourself and you think you're not going to commit a sexual act. I didn't. But I mean, why do you do that? We're stupid, that's why. We're like sheep. Just like Jesus said. I don't know what the answer is all the time. Everybody says don't masturbate, don't look at porn. I'll tell you what, I can go several days and I can keep my mind clean. Boy, you go through some stress and then some girl walks by and you're just like, I find that if you don't even look at porn, that your body resets itself very easily. That is one good thing, that your body can reset it. You go a couple days without thinking that, all it takes is some pretty girl with a revealing shirt, and your mind is just like, oh my gosh. But American women today are not the standard of God's way. They're not, even Christian. I have not met in this country a woman. There's a woman that I work with. Spanish African mixed, gorgeous face. She's been inviting me to church. She hugs me. She's nice. She's dating a guy. Oh, I love him so much. And then she comes to me and says, yeah, I went to California and you told me, I don't want you bringing Mike to church without me there. I said, you know what? I'm not going to come to your church because I really like where I'm going. Oh, I really wish you'd come. I said, why? Because you need to see what God's doing down there. I said, but God's doing something in my church. That's the other thing. And then she hangs out with a white guy and is always talking to him. It's like, you got a boyfriend, you love him, but you're hanging around us guys. It's frustrating. This is what women do. This is why women don't belong in the workplace. They're a distraction. They need to go home. If you love your boyfriend so much, why are you talking to me? Why are you telling me that he told you, I don't want you hanging around guys and talking to them when I'm gone? I said, he's jealous. And I said, be careful. And then some other guy said, I'd dump his effing ass. Really? Would you feel that way if that hot girl was your girlfriend and guys were pawing at her? Girls do flirt. Girls that say they love their man flirt. I love this black alpha female. She's gone to the other terminal, and some people believe she's had affairs, cheated on her husband. Several people have been very vocal about that. The other black people at the terminal want nothing to do with her, so she came down here to grace us with her unholy presence, and she's nasty. Most people that I've talked to don't like her. Other women that are mean and tough have said she's a bitch. But she's a legend in her own mind. She's not attractive. Poochy underarms and she's gross. She thinks she's all that, and she has flirted with guys. But I've heard her in that break room say, I won't do that. I love my husband. But then she'll go over to the other terminal on her day off and start being all sweet on everybody. Nobody in the room sees that down at our terminal, but other people have gotten back to me and said, she was just there last week rubbing up against some guy. I said, really? Isn't that funny? Be sure your sins will find you out. They found out me. They'll find out you. They find out her. And I see them. It's like people walking around with their underwear on, and they're walking around thinking they're fully clothed. And I'm going, look at that. Do not look at the American woman as your role model, folks. Look into the scripture. Look at the godly woman. Look at Ruth. Remember Ruth? Remember her? Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. Look at the truly godly women in Scripture as your example. They weren't yelling and screaming at their husbands. They weren't walking around going like this in front of other men. They weren't inviting other men to church. In fact, women back then, they stayed with women. Read the story about Ruth and Boaz. It's a very cool story. I got to sign off. Something to think about, viewers. This is Pacific signing off. Women today in America are not representing the biblical standard. Any of them. I haven't met any yet. I'm not saying they don't exist, but I haven't met any yet. Not even in Frozen Chosen Baptist Church. They love materialism. They love comfort level. They're cliquey. And then all these women want to talk to me and try to counsel me. Women, even older women, it is not their job to counsel me. I'm a man. Let your husband talk to me, not you. You need to be a wallflower with the rest of us, man. You say hello, hugging and touching me. You shouldn't do that. Yep, Pacific really believes that. But I've done it because we live in a culture that's conducive to it. But no married woman should be hugging me at all. No married woman should be hugging me, a single guy at all, because can I say something, woman? I love it when you press those breasts into my chest. I like that. Feels good. Stop it. We're going to say more about this. Stay tuned, because Pacific is on the sexy Asian dragon, and we're going to be talking about stuff. It's fun. Don't touch that channel. This is Pacific signing off. Bye-bye.